send it where it needs to go.
Okay. So let's start at the beginning. This is our 21st session. So welcome, everyone. Tonight, we're going to be talking about quite a few things, starting out with our usual Q&A. And we have some questions that participants have sent in ahead of time. I would love to run a quick poll. If you all know how to access the chat, there's a poll I want to do after the Q&A about who tills and who layers or who does lasagna gardening, because I'm really curious. I feel like there's a trend one way or the other, but I guess, you know, the polls will tell for our small group. And then we're going to look at some pictures of Chad's venture, the Greenwood Lake Community Garden, and its wonderful progress, especially this past Saturday. They got quite a bit further than they had been. And then finally, we'll end with our announcements. So I don't typically know if Michael opens the floor to just general Q&A or whether you jump in with the formal questions first. Michael, you're going to guide me here.
Okay, why didn't you share your screen first?
You can't see it?
No.
I haven't done it? Oh, I'm so sorry. Still haven't done it. Okay. I thought I hit that button. Oh, no, that's why. All right. Forgive the clumsy tech here, people. Slideshow, play from current, play from start. Okay, can everybody see?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank heavens. Okay, glitches out of the way. Maybe I'll just minimize everyone so you can see the full screen. Better?
That's, yes.
Perfect.
Okay, so let's start again. Session 21. And tonight's agenda, Q&A, bed prepping poll, the Utila layer, community garden progress, and then we'll end with announcements. And Michael, do we generally open the floor to questions or do we start with the more formal ones?
Yeah, the ones that people emailed in, those get priority.
Okay.
Those are,
so,
yeah.
I'm going to skip ahead to, I think, the next slide because that pertains to that first question. When is it safe to plant Brussels sprout seedlings outside? And this is what Patricia sent in. There's a picture of her lovely Brussels sprout seedlings. Patricia, I don't know, I'm not seeing the participants' faces or anything. If you're here, can you tell us when you planted these?
I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. But I've transplanted them since then and spread them out more. But since they're a cold weather crop, I was wondering if it might be okay to put them outside now.
Well, what do you all think?
No, I don't know.
No, I would not. The reason being, the slide I sent you with the kale,
There we go.
it's hard to see here, but can you tell how there's more sets of leaves on there?
Yeah.
The rule of thumb is you don't really start transplanting until you have a set of what they call true leaves. Your photo had the little, baby seedling leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, it's not to say they wouldn't survive, but their chances are not as good.
Okay.
So even though they're a cold weather crop, I would let them develop a bit more.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
Was that Sarah that answered?
This was Sarah. Those are that's my kale.
Yeah, Sarah. So it's very much a case here of the fact that they don't have their secondary leaves yet, right? It's not the fact that it's too cold for them. It's that they're not mature enough to withstand the shock, right?
Well, they're not mature enough to really have a good success. you know, they're infants.
Yeah.
You want to get them to be toddlers at least.
Okay.
Because when you put them out into the wild world of the garden, you have possible animals eating things off. You have heavy wind, you have heavy rain, etc. I mean, if you really cover them and baby them, but there's no reason to rush it at this point and risk losing a lot of your seedlings. I would let them. I planted these in the beginning of, I planted these, I think, on March 12th. And I'm going to set out, I don't know, maybe a third of these and see how they do. But I won't put all of them out yet because I anticipate part of them to be lost. And that's because our garden is not in my backyard. And even if it's in your backyard, you know, you can't keep track of it at night. So hang in there.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah.
But you did transplant them, right?
Well, yeah, they were just very close together, so I put them in a different tray, spaced out.
Okay. Okay.
To them. Patricia, was this slide before or after you transplant? This was before, right?
No, that's after.
That's
After. Okay.
I
Yeah,
have,
let them grow a bit more. Have you put any fertilizer on them?
I put a little in with the water that I spray them with.
Good, good. Then the other thing, you know, you have to harden them off.
Yeah. In other words, put them out gradually.
Well, I mean, today's just wretched. Like I brought my kale in today, but I start putting them out on the deck at this time of year. And then if there's really inclement weather coming, I bring them back in because they're not, you know, ready to take the true hard weather. But they need to be outside. I give them like at least a week or so outside to get accustomed.
Even at night? You leave them out at night?
These warm evenings we've had, yes, I've left them out on the warm evenings. I do a lot of carrying in and out this time of year.
Yeah, yeah.
get strong arm muscles from carrying your seedlings now. Okay, good. So let's go back and see.
Right, as you say, and again, there's room for constructive intellectual growth and otherwise. But what he's doing now seems to be such ridiculous revisionism in order to ingratiate himself into.
Please mute everybody, Michelle.
I'm sorry.
Please mute everybody. Somebody has some background noise that they're not controlling. Please mute everybody.
I can do that. Hold on.
Only in Berkeley, where I suspect someone like you went, so just you can be home anywhere. But you know, he's not out on some left coast diatribe. He's still in a modern.
Michael, how do I do that?
In a right place in his life, but he's down with them.
Let's see.
But I'll let you have a quick repost since I mentioned it.
Michelle, if you click the participants button on the bottom,
Mhm.
it should give you the option to mute all.
Okay, sorry. Leslie, I don't know how much people heard. Could you fill us in again? I'm so sorry. There was a lot of background noise. I was scrambling to mute the participants so that we could hear you more clearly.
And individuals can unmute themselves. So
Okay.
feel free to do that.
Leslie, you there? Oh, I must have, I can unmute him too, I guess.
The individual has to unmute themselves. There's whoever it is.
Leslie, can you unmute yourself?
I think we're doing that now. I did, Michael and Michelle.
Okay, because I'm not hearing Leslie. Just wondering if I'm doing something wrong here. Okay. All right, so whoever would like to speak, we had to mute everybody so that we can cut out the background noise. But if you'd like to say something, then just go ahead and unmute yourself, okay? Okay, so let's just go back to our next question. Who tests their soil before working it in the spring, or do you just add compost? I'm always really torn about this. I have tested my soil in the past, added some amendments based on the results, and I can't say that my yields were significantly better. There is a little bit of information later on about some soil testing that is being offered, but I just wanted to get a sense from the folks out there as to who's doing what and how is it working for you. So feel free to unmute yourself, just jump in.
For me, I have so many different raised beds, and the soil in each of the beds has a different history. It's like I would have to have each of them sampled. It would just drive me crazy trying to keep track of what was in where. So I just try to feed the soil and keep going.
And what do you feed with, Michael?
I try to make sure it's mulched well over the winter, and then as much compost as I can muster, I'll also put on the beds. And also I like to rotate things. So I'm always planting peas or beans somewhere. And I have a really nice Jacob's cattle bean. It's our favorite, dried bean. And so it's always nice to plant those and just let them go for a year. They take care of themselves practically, and you have to shell the beans at the end, but it makes for a really nice bean, and it low maintenance, and it fixes nitrogen in the soil, and all around a good thing to do.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Anybody else?
At the Warwick Community Garden, we don't test. We add compost every year, and we also rotate crops. And then, for example, this time of year, that's the dog, obviously. This time of year, if there's a bed that I know isn't performing well, I'll plant some peas there, and even sometimes I'll just put in old seeds. Even if they don't produce well, I put the peas in there to build up, the soil.
So the peas also fix nitrogen, right?
Right. And I try to, wherever the worst beds are, I try to move to put some beans or peas in those beds every year, because that always, helps the soil out. This year, the bed we had the tomatoes in, we had 3 tomato beds last year, but the best tomatoes are a bed that has a good amount of sun. And I want to put the tomatoes again there this year, which you're not supposed to do. So I planted a cover crop to kind of cheat. And I'm hoping it grows enough in 2 months for my rotation cheat.
Okay, that's good. Anybody else? Any ways that you're approaching fertilizing your beds or testing what they need?
I'm still really new at this, so I just kind of guess.
Who is that, Maria?
Yep.
Yep.
Sometimes I add a little compost if my dad gets any, but I just kind of guess. And just kind of lay it on top.
Okay.
No problems yet, but my garden is only about 2 years old, so.
Yeah, I've had, like I said, I've had mixed results, but I just add compost. This year I'm adding things like bone meal, kelp meal, and I'm certainly going to be adding some ground up eggshells to my tomatoes based on advice from Zoom garden plotters, who recommended that for bottom end rot last year. Because I planted all heirloom tomatoes, and we were dreadfully disappointed that they were so lush and beautiful. And then right at the end of the season, they developed these dark spots, and they just were quite miserable and inedible. All right, so we're gonna go to this slide, and I'll share my screen again. This was sent in to us, I believe, earlier today, that there is soil testing available for Orange County residents if you want to test your soil to see what amendments it might need. They charge $18 for doing the nutrient and the pH, and it's Cornell that's offering this, so that includes the shipping. If you want to do only the pH, that's $5, and you can do it in Middletown. I'm not sure where in Middletown they're located, but I'm sure there's this link at the bottom here, and I can throw that in the chat. They will probably give you some information about where that would be as well. Anybody have any experience with having done this before?
Oh, Michelle, actually, I'm going to do that for one of my flower beds this year, but I just wanted to mention, I get their, email blasts, and I noted that you can go over there and get a soil kit and you can drop them off there. However, you have to contact them and make an appointment because their offices are not, open per se. So if you go to that link, there's a phone number and you can call and make arrangements. Or there's also, you can do the whole thing on your own and send it to the lab, but it's over in Middletown. I forget the name of the road.
It's on Seward Avenue.
Right.
SEWARD. It's off 211 Seward. And it's near the old mental health institution.
Right.
And yeah, it's a complex, but
Yes.
it's not hard to get to.
No.
It's actually on the grounds of the complex.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just throwing that in the chat for those of you who want it. So let me just put that in. Okay, it's there for whomever wants it. Let me go back to sharing my screen. Uh-oh. Okay. All right, so the next question was, peas, what are your secrets? Anybody have any secrets to growing peas? I've had some dreadful luck with peas. I'm a really wannabe pea grower, both the sweet peas and the pod edible variety. I just feel like every year I try, and it's one of the early crops you can put in, and it's a sign of spring. And I'm so enthusiastic and excited, and I put those peas in, and they either just rot in the ground. I'm guessing it's because they go in too early and it's too cold and wet. Or there's another reason I haven't figured out. Sweet peas, I've just had terrible luck. I know this is more of a vegetable Zoom garden plot, but I love sweet peas. They're my favorite flower. But similarly, I feel like I'm hearing you have to start them in October indoors, and you have to nurture them through the winter and then plant them out, and they don't like to be disturbed, and they're so fussy. So I'm just really wondering what folks are doing for their peas.
I strongly suggest if you can get a chorus of young children to come over and sing, "Let There Be Peas on Earth," you will have the best garden plot in the whole town.
I bet that would work.
Beyond that, one of the nice things to do with peas is, like, every couple of weeks, put more in. Because you never know when it's get too, the early ones might be too cold, the later ones, you never know how long it's going to be able to go into the summer. So that's one way to do it, is every couple of weeks, put more peas in.
And when do you call it quits, though? I mean, at what point do you stop? When does it get too hot?
When you want to start planting pole beans, you stop putting peas in, because peas, once it starts getting hot, they're not happy. They stop. So once you realize that they're getting to that, then at that point you want to start planting pole beans.
Michelle, when did you plant your peas?
I just did.
That's good. I don't know if you saw it. I sent you some other pictures, but I sent them late.
So we can look at them, Sarah, and maybe I can pull them up while you're talking. Hold on, let me see. I can skip ahead again. And let's see. Yes, Sarah's.
There we go. So that's March 21st, and the troops are out planting peas. And one of the tricks to planting peas is to soak your peas ahead of time.
Oh, I didn't do that. No.
Because, you know, they're really a hard, in a hard shell. So if you throw them in a bowl and soak them, if you want to soak them for more than a day, you have to change the water every day. And then they're plumped up, which means you've saved several days of them naturally plumping up. It was kind of dry after we planted these, and the irrigation hasn't been reinstalled yet. So actually they only started to sprout last week. And then I took a picture you see over here. This was when I came home from work. They're, you know, they're coming up pretty nice now, and that rain has really helped out. But these have close to, I'd say they're planted on both sides of a trellis, so we've got probably 90% germination this year. So, and the other thing is to make sure your soil is pretty loose.
Yes, I'm hoping the rain will make up for the lack of soaking.
No, the rain, the soaking speeds up the process, and you want your peas to be ready to pick as soon as possible, because like Michael said, once the heat arrives, they fade out very quickly. I put another set in, I think, a week or 2 weeks after the first set.
Oh, wow.
Another row.
Okay.
I have a question. Do you use an inoculant?
I have in the past, yes.
Does it make a difference, do you think?
The purpose of it is really to help fix the nitrogen more. And they didn't have any fresh of that this year, so I just went and soaked them and put them in the ground.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What is inoculant?
I don't know. I bought it, but I don't know.
It's a natural substance. I don't remember what's in it, but it's something that what you do is after you soak your peas, you then mix up some of this, it's a powder, you mix it up in a bowl and you put the peas in there and just let them get coated. It's a small amount of water and you let them get coated. You do this probably an hour, half an hour before you plant them. It's supposed to help the pea fix even more nitrogen into the soil. And you can also use it on beans.
Sarah, is that the inoculant? Is that different to the mycorrhizal fungi that they recommend you put in as well?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with, it may be the same term. I buy all this stuff from Johnny's. So, but your peas will grow without it.
Last year on the Zoom garden plot, Steve, and I'm gonna not pronounce his last name, C-A-R-R-A-S. I'm not gonna pronounce it correctly, so I'm not gonna try. But Steve said that he actually tried some with and some without, and he noticed that the ones with were much fuller. They did better than the other ones.
Right.
Also, I asked about it at Penning's and whether or not I could get some, and they said, you'll be the only person to ask this year. We don't stock it. People just don't ask for it that much.
I think you'll find a lot of these items that, when you really get more involved in what we'll call a serious vegetable garden, you need to purchase through mail order catalogs. This local stores and even your Lowe's and Home Depot, there's not enough people who are interested in purchasing these. Your farms, buy things from farm supply places. So I order pretty much all my seeds online from catalogs, and I order, products like that at the same time.
What is one of your favorite sources, Sarah? I know you mentioned Johnny's. Do you have others?
Johnny's is my, I'd say number one. This year I had to really branch out because of the whole COVID/home gardeners buying everything way too early. So I went to Baker's, I went to Johnny's. High Mowing is one of my favorites. They're a small organic supplier. They're up in Vermont, Maine, somewhere up in there. And one reason I like them is they have smaller quantities that I want for some crops, and they have very low shipping rates. I'm very conscious of shipping rates.
Mhm. They're high mowing seeds or high mowing organics?
It's called high mowing seeds.
Okay, I'm just putting that in the chat. The other one was Baker's, is it Baker's Creek heirloom seeds?
Right. And I
Anybody-
ordered some things from Territorial Seeds this year also. I get their catalogs. They're out in Oregon.
Okay, well, if anybody else can think of anything that you want to share, specialist gardening supply catalog or source you have, feel free to put that in the chat.
To address your sweet peas, they're one of my favorite flowers. And I didn't have bad luck with the annuals, but I saw that you can get perennial sweet peas. So this year I planted perennial sweet peas and annual sweet peas, and from seed, and let's see what happens.
Oh my goodness, Gal, you're going to have to give us an update on that. 'Cause
Right.
That's the first I've heard of any such thing. I didn't know they could be
I didn't know
perennial.
it either.
And it's perennial for the zone, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Well,
Wow, we hope so, right?
Right.
it's a packet of seeds.
Yeah. Oh, how marvelous. Okay. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. Back to the presentation. Oh, there was one more slide that Sarah had sent in, and that was about her spinach.
Wow.
And that was last year's seeds, Sarah, that you planted? Is Sarah still around?
There I am. I muted myself again. Those were planted last fall.
Wow.
And overwintered. And now look at that nice crop of spinach. And there's more spinach seeded underneath that row cover there.
Awesome. Awesome. I wonder, is this the first time you've done this?
No. Some years it works and some years it doesn't. But this year it worked.
I have a question about row cover. Do you take it off during the day so that the sun hits it, or do you leave it for weeks until it warms up? I mean, I don't know how to use row cover. I have some, but I don't know how to use it.
Well, this and then another bed we seeded, we put out, fairly early, mid-late March. And there were assorted rains forecast, which could possibly be heavy. So I laid the row cover. There's another bed of arugula and beets we put out at the same time. And I laid the row cover directly on the ground because this time of year, if you have a heavy rain, it moves your seeds all around and it can wash them out. In the summer, I put the row cover up on the hoops, but this was just to hold the soil in place and also to warm up the soil a little bit.
Okay. So that is Sarah's spinach. Sarah, do you find that the spinach bolts earlier?
Yes.
Way or not? That full crop that you planted?
It's going to depend on the heat.
Mm-hmm.
It's matured only well in the last 2 weeks. A couple weeks ago, they were just small leaves. Now it's good to pick. We don't pull out the plant because we have so many people involved. So we clip the leaves to harvest. But this time of year, say you get all of a sudden it decides it's going to be 80 plus degrees for a number of days, which happens when all your spring bulbs magically die out in the yard, and I cry. When that happens, then your spinach is going to, the flavor is going to decrease, and that plant's going to bolt sooner. That's why we've planted, more succession crops of spinach. That's just for the early snacking.
Okay. Any other questions, folks? Just opening it up to the floor.
Yeah.
We've covered our 3 questions now, so.
Thank you, Michelle. Actually, I'm probably not gonna stay too long because it's my daughter's, a twin daughter's birthday, so I'm gonna leave very soon. But
happy
Sarah, thank you
birthday.
so much because you have actually to show me about early planting on the containers. So I planted like 100 early things in like Spanish and stuff, flowers, and they actually are sitting there and they actually have been coming out. But today I just want to share a story. I went to buy this plant. I don't know what it's called. Let's see.
Looks like a forsythia.
Forsythia.
Yeah, that is it.
Yes.
So actually, I had a big container, and this guy, I had a lot of other stuff. I was in Lowe's, and this guy was helping me. So, and it says like, you know what? This is a great flowers. Enjoy it. I mean, great plant. Enjoy it. But you can also cut it and actually you replant them. So I bought this this is called take root.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to show you. So driving home, I'm actually listening to a book discussion. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
I just want to share this quickly. So I'm looking, Shasta, I joined a book discussion at Warwick, Shasta, and then I'm listening to this book discussion, and the last page says, Mom used to tell me to look for clues. The clues, and the author is asking, the author is asking, so, clues to what? I asked for the first time. To life. They're hidden everywhere. And the funny thing, I'm driving around and these stand up everywhere, literally everywhere. I'm like, even my neighbor has them on his yard, like 20 feet. So I'm like, wow, I can grow this stuff because I spent $50. I bought 2 of these. I was like, this is so cool. So I wanted to share this story.
That's wonderful.
sorry.
That's wonderful. And
sorry.
hopefully you can make more. I did not know that. So thank you for sharing. Has
Yeah,
anybody
yeah,
done that?
right.
Anybody made more?
It's so easy
so,
for
yeah.
forsythia to spread, and it once it gets started, you have to get out of the way.
Right.
Wow.
You can
Awesome.
also, when the branches are large, you can actually just put the tip of the branch down on the ground and pin it on the ground and pin it with a landscape clip, and it'll root itself.
Wow.
There's another thing you can do, and not with your plant, but like if it's in the middle of the winter and you've got like a overgrown forsythia, as most people who have forsythia do, you can go out and cut them and bring them in and put them in a flower vase.
Mm-hmm.
And in a couple of weeks, they will start blossoming.
Yeah.
So like in the middle of January, you can have those nice yellow blossoms.
They're all nice and yellow now. They're so pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they do grow fast, which is nice.
Oh, so great. Thank you, guys. I'm going to say goodbye now. So thank you.
Thank you,
All right.
Marion. Enjoy the birthday.
Okay, all right. Bye-bye.
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 And just
All right.
one more thing on forsythia. The Chinese word for forsythia is yingchunhua, and yingchun means welcome spring flower.
Oh, it's
So,
beautiful.
yeah. A lot of times Chinese names will sort of, forsythia, I don't know what that, the linguistic origins of that mean, but the roots mean there. But
And
anyway, the Chinese flower's name is so easy to remember.
do you just cut it and stick it in the ground, or do you put it in water or to root it, or how do you propagate them?
I've seen people do that. You might want to put it in a pot and keep track of
Right.
it, and then when it's taken place, then go transplant it.
Mm-hmm.
They grow really. They're a robust plant.
Super. Did not know that. Now would be a fantastic time. I know Erin's left us, the other Michael's left us, but for those of us who are remaining, if you know how to access your chat and you want to participate in the poll, I would love to get a sense of how many folks are tilling and how many folks are layering your vegetable garden bed. So just go ahead and type in the chat whether you're a tiller or a layerer. And then I'll try to count them as they come in. So you don't have to all jump and do it right now. You can do it between now and the end of the presentation. Okay, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. And we're going to skip ahead. Oh, yeah, that is the poll. To tell or not to tell, that is the question. Okay, the next item is, I know Chad hasn't been able to join us yet, but he sent in some wonderful photographs. This past weekend, they had a work session and 10 people showed up. So far, they've actually had 4 work days on the community garden. They've covered a fairly large area, first with cardboard and then with about 50 yards of wood chips. They also finally located some compost and some really nice topsoil, which they mixed to create about 12 beds. And the next thing they plan to do is obviously put up fencing. And I did take down a email address for Chad if anybody's interested in becoming a member or knows somebody who might like to become a member. I'll also throw that in the chat. There are the other pictures he shared. You can see that's the beginning on the left of the garden beds, and this is more toward the end of their work day. Certainly a lot of energy and a lot of sweat and tears going into that. We all know that's hard work, right? Okay.
Tears, right? I mean, sweat, I can see, but tears? No, come on.
Tears, stress.
You were having a good time.
Stress. No, stress in terms of like, is the compost arriving on time? I know that was an issue.
Well, this is Camille, and I was actually at the work day. I'm in that first picture with the mask on. And, there was a lot of sweat, but definitely no tears. But
no tears.
A lot of sweat. We had fun.
Yes, we did, Camille.
Fantastic. Okay, some of the results are coming in. We have 1, 2, 3 tillers. Some fence sitters still. I have no clues. There's a container. So there's quite a few people are tilling. That's wonderful. Okay. 2 layers. Okay.
I once visited Bill Makovsky. I don't know why he's not here tonight. I once visited Bill Makovsky, and he just sort of walked me through cracking the soil. So the idea is you don't want to turn over your soil and expose weed seeds that might be how far under, but you sort of put your shovel down and pull it back, and then you move back another foot and you do it again, so that you're sort of loosening it down deep, but you're not turning it. So it's definitely not a rotary tiller sort of thing, but you are loosening the soil and he referred to it as cracking the soil. So that's what I like to do, crack the soil.
I'm going to just share my screen again if I can get. I have to sort of jump between the presentation and the Zoom app on my laptop, so forgive me for being a little clunky. I don't know if you can all see this image right there. Is that something that would work like that? Michael, can you see the image on the left there? Or is it a little small?
Well, to me, that I can't see it quite exactly what it does, but I would think that's sort of churning the soil, and that's what he wants to avoid.
He wants to avoid. Okay.
You put the shovel down in deep, and you pull the shovel back, the handle back, so it all sort of cracks.
Mm-hmm.
And then you move back and do it again, so it loosens it down there, but you're not turning it upside down.
Okay. But a shovel, he uses a shovel, not a fork?
A shovel, not a fork, yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
You know, I think we should add, we turn ours with a fork, the spade fork, you know what I'm talking about? But I think you should add, if you have a new garden, you need to get the soil loosened up to a certain degree and built up to a certain degree before I think you can do that. Remember, he's been gardening for a number of years. The community gardens, those beds have been there for like 10 years now. So the soil is very loose and fertile, and we amend it every year. But if you're going to start from scratch, that's not going to work. You're going to need to either till, which I think is better to do by hand, or layer, because you don't want that compacted soil.
How high are people layering? Who are the layerers out there? Patricia, Leslie. How high are we layering? Leslie, you want to unmute yourself?
I forgot about that. Just about 4 inches.
Okay.
Yeah. But I've had the same space for like 15 years. So I just kind of do that. And I was calling it layering, crack it, and then just turn it a little bit, but not really upset the soil overall, and then put another layer down.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds wonderful. Patricia, how about you?
Yeah, I guess I'm a cracker as well. I don't turn the soil over, but just kind of loosen it and then layer it, probably a few inches.
Okay.
I don't know what layering is.
So maybe someone else would like to take a turn, doing the talking. So either Patricia or Leslie, since you're layers, maybe you want to take the floor and speak to that point.
Well, I think of it as just adding another layer of soil, of topsoil, with all the amendments and then everything I might need. So just putting that fresh on top of the earth that already exists once it's cracked open, which was a term I just learned. But yeah, to replenish any nutrients and everything. And I use a compost that I've had in my composter and mix in. Yeah.
Yeah. So the manure or compost you would mix, that's called layering too. You mix it in on the top.
I mix it in with the topsoil.
Okay.
Because I have, over the winter, the compost doesn't do too much, but I do put things in at the end of the season and keep turning them, September, October, and then they kind of sit there until spring. But a lot of it is already, composted. And then, I'll add that. And some I've saved, and I will just add that to the new topsoil. So there's always a fresh layer on top.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Sure.
I guess I do that. I didn't know there was a name to it.
Right.
Michelle,
yeah.
Michelle, did you have another idea for layering? When you said that, I thought you were talking about like lasagna gardening.
Yeah, so that's what I was about to say. Thank you. You're reading my mind
please.
here. So I know one of our other regulars, Zoom garden plotters, I forget her name because I'm still fairly new here. Michael, you may remember her. She loves lasagna gardening and she's always extolling the virtues of that. And lasagna gardening is just that. It's adding different organic layers, maybe some cardboard, newspaper, brown, green, composted manure, and just keep layering and then plant directly into that rather than mixing everything up. So you have your very distinct layers rather than, like, say, a baked ziti where everything is mixed up. You have layers, very distinct layers, and planting directly into the layers. And I've done that in the past. I'm not doing it here this time because I'm planting in raised beds, but I'm doing it in the garden proper. So in my ornamental garden and my new beds that I'm creating for shrubs. And we'll see how that works because I have clay, really hard pan clay and rocks, and we're breaking arms, bones, shoulders, figuratively speaking, but it is hard back-breaking work to dig a small hole for a, gallon container. So I'm definitely trying this method this year.
That's what we have here. I mean, boulders, not just rocks. But I'd never heard about lasagna gardening. I like that word because I like lasagna. But I actually built a keyhole garden this weekend where you have, it's a raised bed, but in the center of it is a composting section, like a tower. And then you layer with the browns and the greens, and on the very bottom, put in the wood, not wood, excuse me, cardboard. And then as it decreases, as it composts and leaches out then into the soil on either side, then you just keep adding more. So this is the first time I'm trying that, but it sounds similar to lasagna, but I'm not growing directly. I'm not planting directly into that. That's in the center of the planter, which then gets the nutrients as they come out of that center cylinder. Has anyone tried that?
That sounds fascinating, Leslie.
Can you
Did you come up with that?
No, no. No, I actually tried it some years ago where I tried it in the ground, where I had my bed and in the center I dug a hole and then started, doing my mulching directly in there. But the groundhogs and the squirrels and everybody just went to town. So I was like, okay, fine. Then I found something, and I know it was called a keyhole garden, but then I was reading something saying you need to make them higher, so your critters can't just go and, make a home in there. So I got the raised bed this time and added that section in the center. And then it's just like a cylinder that it wrapped with a burlap and landscape cloth so that it won't, as it decomposes, all of the nutrients from the composted section won't just fall into the either, sides of the bed, but it'll begin to decompose and then just kind of flow, into the bed. So I'm thinking it should be interesting. I'll see how well it works. But it's supposed to be a great system because I have a separate composter, but this now is like composting directly into the garden bed.
Wow.
A friend of mine refers to that as a direct deposit when you. Could you please share a picture of that for the next Zoom garden plot?
Oh, sure.
Picture, email a couple pictures.
Yeah, we'd love to see it.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
And also about lasagna gardening, there's a famous book out there called Lasagna Gardening. And if I'm not mistaken, the author of it runs a cafe in Wurtsboro. The Pottager Cafe is supposedly run by the author of that book. Might be an interesting field trip for the Zoom garden plot crew to make once the world gets to that stage. I'm not sure if that cafe is still open. I heard that 2 or 3 years ago, and things have changed. So but that's what I heard.
But the book is Lasagna Gardening?
Lasagna Gardening, yeah. If you look it up, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just did a quick search. It is available pretty widely. Yep, and the cover of the book has, shows the definite layers. Yeah, okay. Well, that covers the questions, the poll, the pictures, everybody's official stories in preparation for tonight's Zoom garden plot. Does anybody else have any ideas or questions or things that have come up since we last gathered? Any burning questions? What are you all growing under lights, maybe? What are we doing indoors? I know the brassicas. Has anybody done any radishes?
Radishes, Brussels sprouts.
That's right, Brussels sprouts, yeah.
And I'm hoping this year I can actually get some Brussels sprouts. I grow them every year, and I rarely get more than a handful. So I put actually a fence around this time, like a post and wire fence, because there are lots of little critters that realize, oh, you're fixing us lunch. So they just come regularly. So I want them to stay out because they don't know how to share. If they would share, I'd be happy to share, but they don't understand that. They just want to eat it all. Not good.
Not good. Michael, you were talking about potatoes. Did you get your potatoes in, or am I misremembering?
I still did not get my potatoes in. And actually someone said you're supposed to put potatoes in when you see the dandelions. And so now would be the time. But then I've got a couple kinds of potatoes around. Some seed potatoes that came in a box, and he specifically said, wait till after the last frost. And that's the first time I've ever heard that for potatoes. We've had other things going on here, so I have not got my potatoes in yet. I'm behind schedule.
What type do you put in?
When I plant potatoes, I like to plant like a blue potato, the
Yeah.
Adirondack blue. I'm an anything but a Yukon Gold man when it comes to planting potatoes, because there's so many critters out there that are looking for Yukon Gold, and if you get one of the lesser known varieties, then it's, there's just not that many people who are looking for it, not many critters who are looking for it. So, and also like I think it's also like for people who have issues with diabetes and whatnot, I think a blue potato is much better than a white potato. Yeah. So
I never tried potatoes, but I love them. That sounds good. Let me give it a try this year.
the really nice thing about planting your own potatoes is you can dig some of them up when they're like half grown and eat the new potatoes. They're called new potatoes.
Right.
You hardly get those at the store.
Yeah, those are the best ones.
There you go.
What do we consider the last frost here?
I thought Mother's Day, around Mother's Day, May 15th.
May 15th.
Okay.
Sarah, I thought last year you were telling it was like May 22nd or something, or way into May.
The official date is May 15th, but I caution you that we have had frosts, killer frosts later than May 15th. So for tender, very tender plants like tomatoes, I don't usually put in the full, start planting the full crop until around Mother's Day. That's when it gets safe.
I wait until Memorial Day usually.
I'm sorry, I meant Memorial Day. I got my, holidays and stuff with an M mixed up. No, Memorial Day is when, we really start putting out the warm weather crops, but the official last frost date is around May 18th, but maybe yes, maybe no.
I know, it's so iffy, right? I started cucumbers way too early, and to me, cucumbers are almost more tender than tomatoes and more fussy. They really like hot conditions, and they were just miserable.
No, I don't. Things like cucumber and squash, I never start those inside. I just direct seed them outside, at the end of May.
Oh, wow, I've never done that. And you have good results, I guess, right? It works.
Oh, yeah, they grow really fast. The peppers and the cucumbers, the peppers and the tomatoes, those I have started in flats. They have to be, you start them around, now's the time to start those. Basil I start. I don't grow eggplants because we have flea beetles and I've never been successful, so I gave up. But a lot of things I only direct seed anymore.
It makes a lot of sense. It's so hard though, when you come to the end of February and it's so dark and cold and you're just champing at the bit to get going, but it's good advice, and it's good that we can remind one another to hold back.
Hold yourself back. Just keep flipping through those catalogs and buying more seeds.
Right.
Okay, let's see. I'm gonna just share my screen again. If there's no more questions or stories that anybody wants to share, I think there's maybe one more slide I have not shared. Oh, not that. There we go. Oh, it's the last slide, which is just an announcement that our next Zoom garden plot is going to be on Monday, April 26th. And then we do it every 2 weeks. So the one after that will be May 10th.
Actually, we decided to do the second and fourth Monday of every
month.
So it will generally work out to every other week, but sometimes there might be a skip in there, but it's the second and fourth Monday if you're marking your calendars. And once we get further into gardening season, we will start later so that you can spend your evening hours out in your garden and still join the Zoom garden plot. And there's another announcement that I would like to add, and that is one of the things Sustainable Warwick is doing is what we're calling the Triple Win campaign. And in the Triple Win campaign, we've got a couple community solar companies that are helping people sign up for community solar. We call it Triple Win because Community solar is good for the environment. It's good because you can save money on your electric bill, but also when you sign up through the campaign, you can get a referral bonus to one of the local nonprofits, including Grow Local Greenwood Lake, which is trying to get its new garden started. So the different nonprofits are, there's Grow Local Greenwood Lake, Family Central, Safe Space America, the Community Center, and the Humane Society. There you go. So if you have any questions about community solar, I have a certain amount of expertise on that, and I'm happy to talk to anyone about community solar. I'll put an email address in there, especially about this. Or you could ask me now. But when you get community solar, basically you get a share of electricity from a community solar array. You get 10% off your electric bill, or as much of your electric bill as they cover. And you get a $100 sign-up bonus now, and a $100 referral bonus would go to Grow Local Greenwood Lake or one of the other nonprofits. So it's a good deal, a good thing to do. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
No, it is a good deal. I just want to second that, especially since, you know, we have the nonprofits benefiting as well. I think it's a wonderful thing.
Does anyone else have any other announcements to make? Does anyone else get the Orange Environment emails? Gosh, I should have, I think I can find it. They're hosting a couple more events, and also the Cornell is offering a couple of events. Let me see if I can find this.
I'd like to mention one thing that's in the environmental arena. I belong to the Lions Club, and we do a paper shredding event once a year where you bring your documents and we shred them for $7 a box, which is like the most cut rate deal you'll ever find. So if you have a lot of papers that you need to have destroyed at the, we call it the Chase parking lot, you know, on South Street in the Warwick, where Cablevision was years ago, we're going to be there on Saturday, April 24th from 9 to 12 with the giant shredding truck.
Let's see, there are a couple webinars, and I'm looking over at my other screen. One is actually Maria's dad is the instructor for one, Jim Hall, and that's Wednesday evening from 7 to 8:30. It's called Growing Vegetables from Seed to Harvest, and then the other one is on Wednesday, April 28th, Home Composting and Organic Gardening. Let's see, will post. I'll pop in the email the sign up link for it. That's the sign up link for both of those events.
Oh, I just realized I shared to Michael and not to everyone. So let me add that to everybody. I put in Sarah's paper shredding event and the email to sign up for the Grow Local Garden as well. That's back to Michael again, it looks like. I'm getting the hang of this, folks. Everyone, okay. Does anybody have anything else to add? Anything else they want to share? Any burning news? Okay, that should work. Michael, how long do you typically have your Zoom garden plot sessions? About an hour?
Yes, usually 8:30. So we've gone over a couple minutes. That's fine. Okay. I do want to notice we did not stop for the shimmy in place this time. So I'm hoping that as soon as we're done, everyone will do their own shimmy in place. For those of you who are new, that means you sort of mostly we prefer people to go off camera, and yeah, you know, because you're not supposed to sit still for too long. It's not good for your health. So
I'm glad you say that. In a lot of meetings, I'll cover my camera and get up and just kind of do one of these things and sit back down and uncover the cover. Tonight I was cooking dinner, but when we have long meetings, it's hard to sit in one place for 2 hours.
Very hard. I mean, the current advice is every 20 minutes, you should look up from your computer screen, look about 20 feet in the distance for 20 seconds, ideally at a nice view, right? At your garden through the window. All right, folks. Well, if nobody has anything else to share, yeah, Melissa, it's been a long day, right? Yeah. If nobody has anything else to share, I want to thank you all for coming. Thank you for sitting so patiently and so graciously through my tech issues at the beginning. This was a trial by fire, but I think I survived it.
Good job.
Thank you.
Michael, thank you for sharing the co-host seat with me tonight. And next time we'll welcome Chad back into the fold. As Michael said, he couldn't make it tonight, but we look forward to certainly hearing the updates from the Grow Local Greenwood Lake Garden. Please, everybody, send in your pictures, send in your questions. Now is when things start heating up, literally and figuratively, out there in the garden. So we want to see it all. And Leslie, we'd love to see your keyhole.
Yes, I will do that.
For sure. Okay. So with that, we'll say goodnight, and we will see you all on April 26th, Michael? Yeah?
Perfect, exactly.
Awesome.
Good seeing everyone. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody, have a great night.
Don't forget to shimmy in place.
That's right.